What's up, boobs? It's me, Pez Flips. And today, we're going to finally talk about this guy, the Cold Blade Kraken clone. Specifically, the ceramic handle clone. I've been flipping this guy for a while, and overall, the TLDW, I guess, too long didn't watch, would be that this guy's good. For the price, I am really satisfied with it, and obviously, I got this secondhand, but I believe these are like $50. So let's get into it. So first things first is, yeah, it's a Kraken. What's the balance like? That's the most important thing. And at the end of the day, the balance profile of this, slightly handle bias. I'll show you the swing here. From my experience flipping Krakens, this one's not too bad. It's not like unpleasantly handle bias. I prefer mine closer to neutral, but this still has that slight handle bias to give it some fanning resolve, in the sense that it wants to resolve itself in this open position. So I'm satisfied with that aspect of the balance. And at the end of the day, like, Kraken as a concept, as a knife, has a very good balance, and I feel like this is pretty true to that, if not slightly more neutral, but we're talking like just a tiny little bit. I would be curious to try the flow channel version of this or the speed channel version of this, because you do see them show up. Now, getting into the specifics, let's start with the blade first, because this is probably the biggest thing that you'll notice, and that is that, let's go to autofocus. Here you can see, you know, the steel is a little bit rough. It reminds me of kind of like the same metal that you might see like a scissor be made out of. And the grind is like just fine. This one, I got it secondhand, so it's not too sharp, but it is definitely the live blade. The tip is definitely still very pointy. I mean, I'd say that part of the blade is pretty accurate. It does unfortunately come with that Squid Industries logo, which, you know, I just think it'd be better if clones just did their own, but it is what it is. You would be able to instantly tell if this blade was not real because of this. On the spine, there is no rounding. It is very sharp. I don't know, mildly sharp, moderately sharp, which I would say some people might find annoying, but for me, honestly, I don't mind it that much, and if not mind it, I prefer having a little bit more of a sharper edge, because when I go into a blade grab like this, I feel like I have just a little bit more control, but it's marginal. I would just say overall, maybe the only place you feel it is like a chaplain, but even then, like, you're not really feeling it because there is still some rounding on the chaplain area. It's just this section. Like, once it does this swedge, I suppose. Yeah, I'm so bad with terminology. But once it gets to that point, it is a little bit on the rougher side. This one comes with black hardware. The hardware hasn't slipped out for me, but I haven't beaten it really. Now, I did mess around and just play with the sanding, so you can see it's got an interesting look. I mean, it is what it is. I just wanted to buy a Kraken to fool around with, and, you know, maybe you take the etcher to the blade and see how the blade holds up to the metal etcher. This is dry right now, but it sounds pretty good. We'll do the blade test. Obviously it's dry, so it's not as deep or as glassy as a normal Kraken, but you know, for a clone and at its price, I'd say this is actually pretty good. In my opinion, how it ranks to a Bally Plus Kraken, I would honestly say that this is probably better, because you don't need to do as much fidgeting with it or finicking to get it into a good spot. Now, what might be the finicking that you need to do? That is that while the hardware itself is good in terms of the screws not backing out for me personally, it's on brass washers, so eventually those will need to be changed. And then an aspect about these brass washers are that they are oversized. So a lot of people get this and they'll see that it binds and they'll not know, because they'll look at the bushings, you know, and they'll be like, okay, well, the bushings are actually oversized. And the reality is that the bushings are like, I mean, occasionally, yes, I've heard of them being undersized. It's a clone after all, so, you know, don't get your hopes up thinking you're going to get something super great. But what people often find is that it's the washers themselves are the oversized part. So if you sand just a little bit of it off, not the side that makes contact with your blade, but rather the side that makes contact with your handles, if you just take off a little bit of that, it will actually make this thing considerably better with its tune. I mean, I have a little bit of play, but nothing crazy for stock bushings. All I did was sand down the washers just a smidge, and I got a lot of sound out of this thing. And you can see that the swing is pretty good, honestly. Little bit catching on that side, so I might need to drop that one down just a little bit more, but overall, like, the swing is pretty good for, again, a $50 clone. Now, I got this secondhand, and I've seen them go on the market secondhand a couple of times, and I was able to get this guy for $30. It's such a cheap clone that I feel like getting it secondhand, people are more willing to sell them at a cheaper price. So if you do see this, you're interested in how a clone might feel, I would give it a go, because for $50, I think it's worth it. For $30, I'd say if you like Krakens, and you don't mind buying clones, then this thing is really good. Lastly, as we move down the balisong, we've done the knife, we've done the hardware, onto the handles. The ceramic coating. People have asked me how I feel about the ceramic coating, and it's an interesting thing. That's basically saying nothing when you say interesting, but at the end of the day, when I first picked this up, it was cold. It was out of a package that was sitting on my front doorstep. Picked it up, started flipping it. So slippery. I don't know what the heck was going on. And that was actually part of the inciting reason for me to sand down just a little bit so that I had some raw aluminum, just to get a little mix of stuff. But once it dried and once it warmed up a little bit, it wasn't as bad. Now, I'm a lotion enjoyer. I like having smooth skin, especially with my cara, my face. And because of that, sometimes my hands are a little bit on the lotion side, and the ceramic handles don't do super awesome with that. I would say, I think I accidentally ended the video. I think the ceramic offers insane grip in seemingly random times. So sometimes I will pick this thing up, and like, if I'm like lifting weights or something and I pick this up afterwards, my hands might be a little like they dried up after being sweaty or like dirty, you know what I mean? This thing will have insane grip, arguably too much grip, to where it's like sometimes it's a little bit less than the glossy finish, and then when I do get grip, it's like too much grip. So I don't know, I'd say it's not too different from the glossy finish, but I don't think I'm gaining anything. I don't think ceramic handles are like this secret cheat code to getting more grip from your balisong. And frankly, I probably, if I had to choose, I'd probably choose the glossy finish over the ceramic finish, but that's at the end of the day, it's preference. And also partly the handles have to do with like where you live. So if you live in a place that has a lot more moisture or humidity, these balisongs will perform differently. I imagine that if you're in like a humid place, this thing will be super grippy, which, some people might like. So grip is always kind of like a subjective thing to some extent. Well, it's objective, but it's objective with specificity in regards to like where you live and how that climate might be. Let's see. I've gone through basically everything. With the box that I got, I don't know the unboxing experience, like what you get normally, but this thing was bare bones. There was not a lot to it except for the knife, which, at that price point, it's sort of expected. Ultimately, the question comes down to, do I prefer this over the Bally Plus? And here's what I'll say. I think that the Bally Plus one, it offered a lot for its time, but there are so many competitors in the clone market, I don't think it's fair to just offer a blanket statement. And also, I've kind of been out of the Kraken clone scene, so I don't think I'm necessarily the exact guy to super answer your question, But in regards to my own personal experience between this and a Bally Plus one, I don't know if this is 1-to-1. Whereas I know that the Kraken, the Bally Plus Kraken, is 1-to-1, which means that you can swap it out for authentic hardware and stuff. Basically, I feel like the Bally Plus requires more work. You can get a lot out of it, whereas this one's kind of like out of the box with a little bit of fidgeting. You can get a really good product. So yeah, if you're somebody, especially if you're newer to the hobby and you just want to try what a Kraken feels like, I'd say this is pretty representative. I mean, you lose a little bit of that polish that you get with the authentic, of course. And if you like it a lot, you love the way it flips, then go get yourself an authentic one, right? Because that's kind of what I would say clones are for, is to like give you the experience of how it flips first. Granted, if they are like a similar balance, so that you can tell if you like the way it looks in person, like the way it flips in person, and you want like the best of that. I mean, sometimes clones are the best. Like they just offer the same things with better tolerances and stuff like that. Like I'm thinking of like the titanium Kraken, which like if you got the Arm Shark one, it actually was parallel. Like, I don't know, I've talked about this before, but like the handles weren't parallel, so the tune was always impossible to do because the bushings were just by nature of the end of them being shorter was out of tune. It was like uneven. So I think sometimes clones can be better. I don't think this one is better than an authentic one in regards. All right, third time's the charm before my camera dies. But yeah, I would say if you're looking for a clone experience of the Kraken and you want something that's somewhat the same, a little less hassle as a clone, yeah, get this guy, sand down the washers, and you'll have something good. Thank you for watching. Drink some water, leave a comment, ask me a question, even if it's not about this video. I like reading your guys' comments. And as always, have a good afternoon. Goodbye.